Eddie G. TV. Eddie G TV. Eddie G TV. Eddie G TV. Eddie G TV. Okay, boom. This is Eddie G TV. Got another episode with my guest.
I'm Steph Christiaens, actress.
Okay, so how'd you get into becoming an actress?
You know what? I got into it at a very young age. I think from a young age, I really knew that that's what I wanted to do. Like, I was always goofing around when I was a kid, writing plays, acting out stuff in my house, and then didn't do much after that. Like, did the odd play or whatever in grade school, high school, drama club, whatever. Yeah. Did all that kind of stuff, but never really branched out from that. And then I just decided I wanted to go to school for it. So I went to college in Ottawa, went to Algonquin College, 2-year program there, did everything. We did acting for stage, for camera. I learned everything that I had to learn because they basically tell you you're not going to get a job acting when you finish school. So you better learn how to do like production and other things.
Yeah.
But which I am. I'm also a producer as well. And from there I just started doing a lot of community theater shows. Anything around Brantford, Paris, Simcoe, Hamilton, London. I've done stuff in Toronto, and then I just keep branching out further and further and further. So,
and they say you're not going to get an acting job like right away when you get out, and they tell you learn the production. How many people do you think actually start off do you think more people start off behind the camera and then work their way to in front of the camera?
Oh, definitely, definitely for sure. Because I mean, you got to have an in somewhere, right? So, yeah. I mean, I could have had a job in Ottawa working for a theater company making props, but I was like, nah, that's not what I want to do. Like, I want to act, right? So my girlfriend and I had these great plans. We were going to finish school. We were going to go out west, and none of that ever happened. So it's just kind of the roll of the dice, I guess. But everything happens for a reason. I mean, like, the path that I'm on now never would have happened if I moved.
Right.
For sure, so... Right.
It's just like I was saying, off camera, I started as a rapper, then I started bouncing around to different things in the hip hop scene, and I ended up doing this. It's like I find a lot of people probably start off in one field in acting and then move to another, and yeah, it's kind of like they find their niche, right?
Yeah, definitely. I kind of did both at the same time, I guess. Like I would mostly just do acting. Be in a lot of theater shows. Got into some film and television and commercials and stuff as well. But apart from that, like I'm president of a theater company here in town, Stage 88. Go get your tickets for our next show. It's called The Last Romance, Polish Hall in November. And so I mean, I'm producing that show as well. I'm president of the theater company, but I mean, I've been backstage. I'm behind the scenes doing lots of stuff. Yeah. For sure. As well as acting. Work with another production company as well, Post Life Productions. Fellow named Greg Kovacs, he's an animator for Nickelodeon. He started this company up, started making some films, and I started out acting, and eventually they asked me to come on as producer. So then, I was the one kind of ponying up some dough for the films and stuff. Yeah. But then it turned into everything. I mean, like, I was set dressing, I was producing, I was doing props, I was doing food, I was craft services, I was everything. So
I tried that for a night running a show. I ran the show, I hosted the show, and I performed on the show.
Oh my god! And
like right before my set was supposed to start, I had to kick somebody out of the show.
Yeah.
And it just kind of I went on stage and I forgot some of my lyrics just because it was so much at one point. I know a lot of people have gone on stage and forgot their lyrics, but performing a lot, I usually didn't.
Yeah.
I was always on point and then that day I just put too much on my plate, and
that's crazy.
But I find in all fields of entertainment, I think a lot of people try and do everything, right? Because they're trying to find the right people to work with, and you're like, well, if I just do it myself,
Exactly. Like, when you're starting out, you have to. You absolutely have to, because you can't rely on other people. You have to kind of rely on yourself, or else, you don't really have anybody else to push you except yourself. And I was in that boat completely. I was kind of stalled for a while after I finished. I did a bunch of community theater shows. I was doing a lot of film and television and stuff in the background, and I wanted more. So I was sitting around. Actually, this was just 2 years ago now, and got an email from a director down at the Lighthouse Festival Theater in Port Dover, and he said, "Hey, I have a role for you." And he'd been kind of keeping his eye on me for a couple of years because he'd seen me do a couple of shows at Simple Little Theater. And I was like, sure, you know, like, let's talk or whatever. And so he's like, okay, you know, come on, I want you to, he was directing the show. So, I mean, he could cast whoever he wanted. I didn't have to, I said, do you want me to audition for you? He's like, no, I've seen what you can do. Come on out. So I'm thinking like, oh my God, you know, like, this is great. Finally, foot in the door for some professional work, right? But before that, like, I was just kind of stalled out. I had auditioned for him probably 6 years before that, because he saw me do something and said, send me your stuff. So I did. Yeah. And made me go out to Toronto, went in front of Theatre Ontario, and it's like every theatre director from, I don't know, it's kind of everywhere across Ontario, from every major theatre across Ontario, and they sit there. And then you audition in front of all of them, and then if they want you, they pick you or whatever, right? And it went terribly. It was awful. Completely awful. My headshot, lost it the night before. Couldn't get a copy of it. The fellow who did it, his hard drive crashed. Couldn't get a copy from him. Had to use a photo from the last community theater show that I did. My resume was atrocious. I didn't even know how to do an acting resume. It was terrible. They thought I was handing them, 5 copies of the same resume. No, my resume was 5 pages long. Gotta just keep it to one page. Something I learned, so it was a learning process too. So I thought, oh man, I screwed this up. Like, it's never happening. Like, this is just what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. But then I got the call and went and did my first professional show last year called Stage Fright at the Lighthouse in Port Dover. So
nice.
Yeah.
So me and you met through a mutual friend, Jay Smith, and going out to the film festivals. How much do you like? I enjoy the film festivals. Like, how much do you like those?
I love them so much. Like, when we get into production mode with my other production company, Post Life Productions, it's all we live for, right? Is the film festivals. Like, we love going out. There's certain ones that we go to all the time. We always go to the Blood in the Snow Film Festival, and we've been in that one every single year. And I think we are one of the only companies that has been in that festival since it started. Wow. Like, every single year we've had a film go in every single year. So, like, that is big for us, right? You know, they really like our stuff. Thank you so much. I can't take all the credit. I mean, the guys that I work with are fantastic. Greg Kovacs and Darren Hutchings and Nathan, and they're amazing. Like, they're wonderful people. And I wouldn't, it's tough to say, but it's hard to, like, not work with them, like to go and work with another film company, and I think, oh man, like, we just have it so good, like, everybody just works together so well. So
after you find that common ground with people, and you just get into a vibe, it's like,
it's perfect.
It's like it's not even work. Like I do the other podcast with my friend Maloney, and we're on episode 70 something, and by now it's like we sit down and we just do it. It's like it's just like a thing, right? Like, exactly.
You just kind of go into, like, it's almost like autopilot. You just, everybody knows what they're doing. It's like, all right, here we go. Get it done, kind of thing. Like, we just shot a bunch of episodes of a YouTube series called Poppy Seed Place, and we shot off, I don't even know how many episodes that day. Like, we usually have a plan, and we're like, hey, if we can get this many done, great. Yeah. Had them all done in absolutely no time whatsoever, and it's just because we've got that that process, so we know what we're doing now. Like, and it gets better every single time. Like, I'm really picky when I watch our films. Like, we go to Toronto, we go to Blood in the Snow, we do this, and I'm watching, and we're just like, like, if it's continuity or something, I'm really bad for continuity. Like, I'm like the, what do you call it, the continuity, I don't know, kamikaze or whatever. I think they hate me for that, but I don't know. It's just because, like, I see it, so I feel like somebody else in the audience is going to see it too, so I'm just really picky. For sure.
Like, I think every creator is like that. Like, they see that one little thing, like...
Yeah.
Like, there's, like I watched some of my old interviews, and, like, some ones that, like, people are like, oh, this is, like, amazing. I watch it, and there's, like, cringeworthy parts for me. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like...
Yeah.
I'm like, I kind of, like, wasn't really on point there, and people are like, oh, you really killed that. I'm like, okay.
Well, that's just it, right? And some of those people just don't see that stuff, right? So you're kind of like, oh, okay, Like, if you thought it was great, then sure, that's wonderful. It's really great. But, meanwhile, I can see, like, just something that's completely not even supposed to be there. Usually that happens when we have to do reshoots. One of the films that we did... couple years ago. It was called Oh Christmas Tree, and it was fantastic. But we shot it in the dead of winter because we had to. We needed snow, and the things that we had to do to shoot that film, it was insane. But doing the reshoot, so we did a reshoot. We shot in like March, I think, and then I think we had to do the reshoot, might have even been a month later. So there's no more snow outside, nothing, which was fine because the reshoots all had to happen inside, and we shot it all in my house.
Yeah.
And we didn't have half the stuff anymore. Like, to decorate the house. There was stuff that, like, our director had brought down for set dressing and stuff, like garlands and things, and I'm like, oh God, like, what are we gonna do? We had things hanging on the walls, like very, very cultural specific things that were supposed to be in this shot. We didn't have them anymore. We had to return them all. So I'm thinking like, oh my God, you know, like wrapping green towels around my posts in my living room because it's just far enough away that it might look like garland in the reshoot. So yeah, we've had to get creative. Yeah. Very creative.
Definitely. So like, what are your next couple of moves? Like,
so next thing that I've got coming up is a play in Paris at the Fairgrounds. It's with Paris Performers, and we do that one in November. I think we open like November 15th. It's a show that I actually pitched to a friend of mine to direct. A friend of mine, Greg Graham, he actually works for Brant One News, and he's a great director, great actor. Yeah. And I came across this script when I was looking for monologues to audition for theater companies. And so anyway, I came across this script, read it, and I was like, I really like this. And then it was just finished its professional run, started its amateur run, saw this show at a theater in Milton, and I'd been in contact with the author. And she was the one who gave me the monologues. And I thought, oh man, like I really want to do this show. The production that they put on was great, but I was like, I really want to do this. So I pitched it to a friend of mine. I said, hey, I want you to read this script. Yeah. And he's like, sure. And I said, and another thing, I said, I want you to direct it. He's like, oh, okay. And I said, another thing, I said, I want to act in it. He's like, oh, okay. So those were kind of the stipulations. But anyway, we pitched it to Paris, and they loved it. It was great. So they've decided to enter this show. I don't know if I mentioned the name. It's called Five Alarm. The author is Kristen De Silva. And we're entering it into, it's a festival that they do every year, and it's called the Western Ontario Drama Festival. And it goes on, like each section of Ontario has like a form of this festival. So there's like west, east, north, and south, or whatever. And then they all pick the shows, the best shows. They all come together, and then in May, so the festival goes on in March, and then come May, all the winning shows go on to Theatre Ontario, and they perform it again. And then there's like a, overall winner from the whole festival. Anyway, so we'll just edit that. Yeah. Anyway, so back to the festival. We thought it was perfect because it was minimal set, nothing. The characters that were in this play were really great. And we just thought it'd be really good. So I've got that going on in November. Next show I'm doing will be at the Players Guild, not till January though. A friend of mine named Dan Penrose is directing it. And after that, I have no idea what I'm going to do because I will no longer be able to do community theater. I've just joined the union, so I've joined Equity. Yeah. So I'm now technically a professional artist. And so you kind of have to like abide by the rules and stuff. You're only doing professional work where you're getting paid and stuff, which is good because that was kind of the next step for me. Like I've done enough non-professional work. I did my first professional show last year, and then going into audition for other stuff after that. It was always like the first thing on, the directors. Yeah. It's, oh, you're not union. You're not union. How come? And I'm just like, well, I just haven't made the jump. And it's nothing that they won't hire you because they can hire non-union people as well. But it was more of there's more roles available to me if I am union because they'll only hire maybe like one non-union person, and then everybody else in the show has to be union. So it's like a percentage, right?
Oh, okay. So you're better off. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm better off to join the union. You get a lot of protection and stuff too from that, which is great. A lot of benefits from doing it. So it'll just be the push to go out and audition more. So I'll be making a lot more drives to Toronto, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I find I gotta travel a lot to do if I want some bigger stuff too. But what do you feel about a lot of movies now? Like that are out, like big movies for the theaters are remakes of things, or they're the second one, third one, fourth one, eighth.
Yeah.
Like,
you know what?
like you look at like some of like the things and you're like, what year is this? Like because they're remaking like all the same like movies from like certain times.
I know, I get it. And the first thing that my brain goes to is like, have they run out of things to write movies about? Like that they have to go back and they have to remake all the ones. And don't get me wrong, some of the remakes are great because like you go and watch old classics, like, you know, whatever, and you're just like, yeah, the effects weren't there, but like that was the thing.
Yeah.
It was very like it was culturalized to that era. Yeah. Like that was like, oh, you watched The Shining, you watched it. Like I just saw It. There was another. It's like now I can't remember. Did they remake It, or is now there's just an It 2, Stephen King's It?
I'm not sure on that. I think they remade it.
Did they? I can't remember because now I just saw a preview for it and I was just like, what the heck, you know, like, all right. But yeah, I know. And I mean, like, even all the Marvel stuff, like, there's tons, but there's a market for it.
Like, do we really need another Fast and Furious?
Yeah, I know. What are we on, like 25 now? Like, I don't even know.
I don't even know.
I don't know. There's a lot.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I guess that's just kind of the theme, right? In the film industry, it's the same with the theater industry as well. Like, you kind of go through, just a time where like everything's either getting regurgitated or I mean everything's about disaster movies, everything's about documentaries, like there's tons of like everything about like the Beatles and that, right? Like the movie Yesterday, and then what is the other one that's out right now? And I think that one's was it like about, gee, I can't even remember, but like it's all those genres of movies and they all just kind of like get pumped out all at the same time.
Do you think like people are scared to like veer away from and try something different, like because like they're like these big companies are just seeing that, okay, these movies make money.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, that's
like,
exactly what it is, right? You see something making money, so you're just gonna you're gonna ride it for all that it's worth, right? It's just like you know, the zombie craze. Like let's just take that, you know, all of a sudden like zombie this, zombie that, and you ride on the coattails of that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, okay, it's done. It's dead. And then you won't see it again for like another 10 years or something.
And if you're one of the last ones to make it, like, you're losing out huge.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly, right? Because a lot of the stuff that we did with Post Life Productions was kind of at just that startup of all that zombie stuff. So we did a lot of, that's kind of how we got the name Post Life, because our first film under that name, our production name, was called The Post Lifers. And it was about a group of zombies, and they were being interviewed. Like, they've secluded themselves out into the wilderness, and someone from the living has come out to interview them, and they talk like normal people. You know, they're just dead. So it was great to shoot that, and then we did a little series run of some of those films. So we did like we did The Post Lifers, and then we did oh Jesus, what the heck was it? Oh, Come All Ye Zombies. So we did a second one, and that was a Christmas themed one where they were all sitting down to Christmas dinner, except the body that they dragged in wasn't dead yet. So he comes to life and he's talking and stuff. But again, it was the same thing. And we started getting a lot of people. One of the guys, one of the producers, and he also does like a lot of stuff on set as well. Nate Hawkins, he was talking to someone right after we had done, I think, our first one. And someone who was a former, I don't know, he was an HBO, he worked for HBO. He said, you guys have something really good here. Like, you should keep going with it, right? And so we're like, okay, you know, so we did a couple of little things, little spin-offs and stuff too. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, that's going to run out. You know what I mean? So, I mean, we started doing this stuff when it was really hot, and now it's like, okay, well, you know, we're moving on to the next thing, sort of thing.
Okay, what if you found out just right now that the zombie apocalypse has started? Like, what would be your...
I think about this daily. You have no idea. Like, I am a Walking Dead fan.
Okay.
You don't even understand. I wake up in the morning going, okay, if this was a zombie apocalypse, I wouldn't be able to dry my hair right now, you know? Like, I just think of these things. And I think of, like, all the food that I have. Like, I have a big pantry, I guess you could call it, in my basement. One of my in-laws basically calls it Costco because So, I mean, I'd be okay in a zombie apocalypse for quite some time. If we didn't have hydro, though, everything in my freezer would probably melt. And I'd be a little upset about that because I'm a baker as well. So, I mean... You know, everybody would be eating cupcakes and cooking up all the meat out of my freezer for a while, and then, you know, goodbye to that. But no, I firmly believe, you know what? I think about it all the time. Seriously. I'm just like, oh, okay, you know, like, how would we, like, you know, safety the house and, like, kill things and...
And do you think they'd be like the slow-moving zombies, or the
the ones from, like, Zombie Nation or whatever? Is that the one where they're running at you?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Or they'd be running at you, or do you think they'd be like the slow motion? Like
I don't know. I think they'd be slow. I don't think any zombie would ever be fast. Like, I don't know who decided that they were fast. I'm sorry, when you're dead, things are starting to fall apart on you. Like, things just don't work anymore, right?
Exactly.
Then you ain't running.
Yeah. Like, for my sake, like, I'm a little bit chubby. I hope they're not fast. Yeah. I'll be pushing my friends over, like.
Just push the skinny people over there.
Right.
That's awesome.
Okay, so if somebody wants to get into acting, what do you think should be like their first couple steps?
I don't know, because mine wasn't very traditional, so it's hard to say. You kind of have to just fall into it in your own way. But if someone wanted to get into acting, first things first, try it out. Like, you know, join a community theater. You know, see if it's what you like. You know, get into the habit of working with, like, directors and different directors, because every single one of them is gonna make you do things differently, right? So I mean, you kind of have to learn each director's style, and it's new every time. So you have to get used to that process, as it's not going to be the same every time. But yeah, basically just that. Be the first step. Like, join a community theater. You know, if you want to do film acting, start searching for, you know, background stuff. That's how I got into the film stuff, was doing background for film and television. There was a company, which I don't even know is in Hamilton anymore, Stonewall Talent, but it was great doing that, because then it really kind of it gave me more knowledge too, just about what goes on a set and stuff too. So I mean, that way, when I was doing bigger stuff, I just knew what everything meant. Like, when they tell you to go back to ones, when they're telling you to do this or do that, right? So it was a good jump for me to, like, you know, start it in the background, because everybody wants to be in front of the camera, obviously, like, you know, lead role, whatever, right? No, sorry, it just doesn't work out that way unless you know, are that lucky. So yeah.
Okay, so I think it's been some good talk.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's SteadyG TV, and we out.